Do you still have everybody in your company sharing the same login for Planning for Profit software? There's a better way. And that is the topic of this week's Planning for Profit Minute. In the software, you have the ability to control who has access to not only the software, but who has access to what areas of the software. And you really want to control who has access to that information. And so by doing that, we can actually create a separate login for each individual user. Remember, you can have as many people logged into the software at the same time as you would like. We don't always want everybody to see all the information. So to create a new user, what we're going to do is simply go into Setup and under Users. And when you do that, you'll see the actual user list, who has access to the software itself, and really their type of user, right? And so if I want to add a new individual, I simply click in the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to click on Add a User. And so as I do that, it's going to bring up the Add New User window. And so in this box, I'm simply going to edit the data that we have available to us. So this individual is John, first name, last name, Bellingham. Got it. What's John's email address? So it's John B. See, it's already validating to make sure you have a valid email format as we put it in. Then I need to tell the software, all right, what type of access do I want to give this individual? And so I can say, okay, for this person, I want them to have full access. They'll have access to everything and anything in the software itself. And so that would be the first option that we have. And you can see as soon as I clicked on Grant Full Access, it put checkboxes in almost everything on that list. That means they're going to have access to all of these areas. This first section here is all the cost inputs, right? And so they have access to all of them. If I jump, right, so if I only want them to have access to certain areas, I can choose the particular areas that they'll have access to. Maybe I want them to have access to the cost input section, but I don't want them to have reporting, the tracking reports, or the calculators. I can shut off and only grant access to certain areas in the software itself. So once that's done, I can simply come in and say, in fact, maybe they were even a salesman only. If you notice, if you click on salesman only, everything else is grayed out and is not available, because in that, for a salesman, they're only going to have access to the job pricing calculator and the tracking reports, that job section that we have on the menu itself. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is if you disable an area for this particular user, it's not that it's going to gray it out on the menu. What's going to happen is that particular feature, that item, won't even show up in the software for them. So they don't even know that they're missing it. The menu just gets a lot shorter for them. So once we have picked the actual items that we want to grant access for, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and we're going to add this user. So they'll be added to the list. I get my confirmation note that they're there, and I can now see John is here at the top of the list. Now, all that did is it set him up as somebody who can access the software. I can see at this point, again, he's on the list. I've got his email address. I can validate that that's correct. His role is a standard user, but I can see here that his current status is inactive. He's not accessed the software at all yet. And so what I want to do is I need to take the next step. I'm going to go into Actions and open up the Actions menu, and I want to send John an email. This is going to send him an invitation email letting him know that, hey, you have access and I need you to set up a password. So you get the confirmation, right? So John can check his inbox. He should now have an email that's there. If he doesn't get it, make sure you check spam folders. Sometimes the security on them can catch this and it ends up in the spam folder. Once you get that email, it's going to have a link in there for John to go ahead and set up his own password so he can now log into the system itself. It's as simple as that. Now, we're not fighting. We don't have individuals running into each other as they're trying to log into the software. Set up individual logins for individual people and control what they have access to. That is this week's Planning for Profit Minute.